Welcome to Global World Watch. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The Philippines has launched a bold new approach in its dispute with China, abandoning quiet diplomacy for assertive transparency. Manila now actively challenges Beijing's sweeping claims in the West Philippine Sea, shining an international spotlight on every confrontation. This is more than a change in tone, it's a fundamental policy shift born of frustration and urgency. The government is determined to push back, seeing China's actions as a direct threat to sovereignty and economic future. Press briefings, declassified reports, and dramatic Coast Guard videos are now routine, documenting and publicizing every incident. The goal? Create an undeniable record of coercion and win the battle for global public opinion. By exposing China's actions, the Philippines hopes to hold Beijing accountable in the court of world opinion. This marks a significant moment for the region, a test of whether a smaller nation can stand up to a superpower. It's also a test of international law and the alliances meant to uphold it. The world is watching. Will this strategy force China to change or escalate tensions further? The stakes are high, and Manila has placed its bet. The Philippines is no longer content to be silent. It's reclaiming the narrative, determined to shape the future of the South China Sea. This assertive transparency is a high-stakes gamble, but for Manila, inaction is no longer an option. The outcome will define the region's future. China's ambitions in the South China Sea are vast, enforced by a slow, relentless campaign of island building and maritime intimidation. Its 9-line claim overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of several Southeast Asian nations, including the Philippines. China's salami-slicing tactics, small, incremental moves, have shifted the status quo without triggering direct conflict. The Philippines once tried legal action, winning a landmark 2016 ruling at The Hague that invalidated China's claims. But China ignored the verdict, and Manila's subsequent policy of appeasement failed to halt Beijing's expansion. Chinese vessels continued to harass Filipino fishermen and block resupply missions, fueling frustration at home. Quiet diplomacy and economic incentives proved ineffective. The realization set in: only a more assertive approach could protect national interests. Manila's new strategy is a direct response to years of failed accommodation. The Philippines is now determined to confront China's creeping control head-on. The era of silence is over. The stage is set for a more confrontational chapter in the dispute. Manila's new strategy centers on radical transparency, publicizing every Chinese provocation with videos and photos. This name and shame approach exposes the gap between China's peaceful rhetoric and its coercive actions. Diplomatic protests are now frequent and public, amplifying the message globally. The Philippines is rallying support within ASEAN and beyond, building a coalition for a rules-based order. Strengthening alliances, especially with the US, is key. Joint patrols and expanded military cooperation send a clear signal to Beijing. Manila is also deepening ties with Australia, Japan, and Canada, creating a network to counterbalance China. This multi-pronged approach leverages international law and public diplomacy, not just military might. The Philippines is proactively shaping the environment, forcing China to respond. It's a creative, assertive response to a complex problem. Manila is no longer just reacting, it's setting the agenda. The world is taking notice. The government's assertive stance has sparked a surge of national pride among Filipinos. Years of frustration have given way to unity and patriotism as the Coast Guard stands its ground. Public support empowers the government to pursue this risky path. Internationally, Manila's transparency has rallied support from Washington, Brussels, Tokyo, and Canberra. China's actions are now under a global microscope, isolating Beijing diplomatically. The dispute is no longer just about territory. It's about defending international law and the freedom of navigation. The Philippines has gained the moral high ground, framing itself as a small nation standing up to a bully. This narrative resonates worldwide, making it easier for other countries to support Manila. However, this pride brings expectations. Filipinos and international partners now demand consistency and resolve. Any backsliding could trigger backlash at home and disappointment abroad. The government has built momentum, but it must now live up to it. The stakes and the pressure have never been higher. Manila's assertive strategy comes with economic risks. China is both a rival and a major trading partner. Beijing has a history of using economic coercion as seen with Philippine bananas and Australian wine. Retaliation could hit key sectors, especially agriculture and tourism, causing job losses and slower growth. The government faces a tough balancing act, defending sovereignty without jeopardizing livelihoods. To reduce vulnerability, Manila is diversifying trade and investment ties with the US, Japan, South Korea, and the EU. But diversification takes time, and the economy remains exposed in the short term. The question: can the Philippines withstand economic pressure if China retaliates? The answer will test the resilience of both the government and the public. Sovereignty comes at a price, and Manila must decide how much it's willing to pay. The economic tightrope is real, and the stakes are personal for millions of Filipinos. The next moves will determine the nation's economic future. Militarily, the Philippines faces a daunting mismatch. China's navy is the world's largest, while Manila's forces are modest and outgunned. In a direct conflict, the Philippines would be overwhelmed. This reality makes the US alliance crucial. The Mutual Defense Treaty is Manila's main deterrent against Chinese escalation. Recent US clarifications and joint patrols reinforce this commitment, but relying on Washington carries risks. The Philippines could be drawn into a superpower standoff, with catastrophic consequences. There's also uncertainty. Would the US truly risk war with China over disputed reefs? Any ambiguity in America's commitment could be disastrous for Manila. The Philippines is walking a tightrope, using the alliance to deter China, but wary of provoking a conflict it cannot win. The military imbalance shapes every decision. Manila's strategy is to push back hard in the gray zone, short of open war. The hope: deterrence, not escalation. The risk: miscalculation could be devastating. The stakes are existential. Manila's assertive strategy has divided Southeast Asia. Some ASEAN states quietly support the Philippines, while others, wary of angering China, urge caution. ASEAN's consensus model means strong action is rare, leaving Manila to build coalitions with the US, Japan, and Australia. Domestically, most Filipinos back the government's stance, but critics warn it could provoke China and hurt the economy. If economic pain or a dangerous incident occurs, public opinion could shift quickly. The government's mandate is fragile. Success depends on managing both external threats and internal expectations. The risk of backlash is real if the strategy falters. Manila must balance confrontation abroad with unity at home. The stakes are not just diplomatic, they're political and personal. The path forward is fraught with risk. Manila's bold strategy isn't about seeking conflict. It's a response to years of failed diplomacy and growing Chinese control. Legal victories and appeasement brought no relief. China's encroachment only intensified. The government concluded that inaction meant surrendering sovereign rights and resources. The new approach is a calculated risk: internationalize the dispute, raise the diplomatic cost for China, and leverage the US alliance as a deterrent. By exposing China's actions, Manila hopes to make brute force too costly for Beijing's global image. The US security guarantee is central. If credible, it deters escalation. The strategy: push back hard in the gray zone, defend rights without triggering war. It's a high-wire act, but for Manila, it's the only viable option left. The gamble is real, but so is the threat of doing nothing. The Philippines is betting on transparency, alliances, and international law. The outcome will shape its future. The Philippines has chosen defiance over accommodation, but is it ready for the consequences? Publicizing China's aggression has shaped the global narrative, but also raises the risk of escalation. Economic vulnerabilities remain. If China retaliates, can the country endure the hardship? The US alliance is a double-edged sword, offering deterrence but risking entanglement in superpower rivalry. The strategy's success depends on resilience at home and unwavering support from allies. Manila seeks a stable equilibrium, but could inadvertently fuel regional instability. The nation is navigating uncharted waters, balancing defiance with prudence. The goal: secure sovereign rights for future generations. The risks are immense, but so is the resolve. The coming years will reveal if the Philippines can weather the storm.